Jim, do you have Wayne's headset available? I saw it. Are you all set, Wayne? All right. Okay. That takes us to roll call. Angie, would you mind doing the roll call this evening?
Thomas will be late with notice. Otto?
Here.
Westover's here. Engstrom?
He's here.
Dockett? Braun? Here. Chick?
Here.
Great. That takes us on to the consent agenda, the minutes and bills. I know, Wayne, you had just some questions on the minutes. Do you want to talk about those right now, or do you want to put them,
If you don't
want
mind,
to move them down?
It'll be real quick.
Okay.
I just want to know on the bills, I wanted to know who this what is that? Constellation?
Constellation Energy. It's our.
It's $6,500, so I'm just curious.
It's not Tim, Mr. Dockett. It's our electricity.
Excuse me?
bill. It's our electricity bill.
Oh, it's electricity?
It's electricity.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a pretty good bill. One other thing was that I see a bill in here for $5,600, $5,680 for our last planner, Becker and Rader, or whoever it was. It's a waste of money. Sorry we ended up with that. Thank you. One more thing on the minutes. I was surprised to see in here in the minutes, says Engstrom moved, auto supported, to re-appoint Larry Roman and for the planning commission, and then it said the same thing underneath for Sam Quinto. But then it says Thomas and Otto urged appointments of Jennifer Delisle. I have no problem with that being in there, but it's very unusual to see something in the minutes that like that. So I just thought it was strange that it's in there. We usually don't have little items like that in the minutes. Thank you. That's it.
All right, thank you, Wayne. So anyone else have any questions on the minutes and bills? I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and bills as presented. Engstrom motion and Otto supported. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. We'll move it on to the adopt the balance of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions for anyone? No? I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Engstrom motion and Chick supported. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. That takes us on to our first call to the public. This is an opportunity for anyone to get up, share your thoughts, comments. We do try to limit you to 3 minutes. And keep in mind, it is not a question and answer session. This is just an opportunity for us to listen at this point. We have our first speaker. Welcome.
Chuck Stoyer, 766 Mile Road. Please remember to use your microphones for those of us that are hearing impaired and the people at home that are trying to follow what y'all are doing here on their computers or Comcast. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers this evening? We'll wait for you.
My name's Craig Warburton. I live at 450 West Joy Road. You all got an email from me this week. If your mailbox was capable of receiving email, which seems to be about an 80% kind of a hitting average, about what I perceive to be a profound conflict of interest taking place in the Planning Commission right now. I don't know if it's going to be part of your correspondence in today's meeting, if what I sent in is ever going to be addressed, but my appeal is for someone to listen to what I said in that letter, look at the tape, and tell me that there's not a profound conflict of interest afoot. It's not right that a church can have two guys on the Planning Commission that just kind of make it move for them. You know, if they, and by their own admission, they are donors to the church. They have a pecuniary interest in that body. They should recuse themselves immediately. Not be the one who brings an agenda item to the agenda after it's been closed. The lack of regard for parliamentary procedure in the Planning Commission right now is unbelievable. Boy Scouts do a much better job. I know I'm going to take crud from somebody for saying that, and I apologize for that comment.
And Girl Scouts, you better say.
Well, you know, I have questions about residency. I have questions about the election that just took place. And more than anything else, I really don't know how I bring this charge of malfeasance against Mr. Dignan and Iaquinto, but I wish to make that charge, and I would appeal for someone on this board to take that up with Don Quixote and do something about it, because they should be brought here to answer for it, charged with malfeasance, and dismissed. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
Udo Hof, 6431 Whitmore Lake Road. I would like to go back to this there's very strange procedure of appointing members of the Planning Commission, and it was also stated that this was out of the sudden something that we can do because it was done last time. Last time was to reappoint, at that time, Mrs. Jacqueline. There was no other candidate there. So we had this time, we had 5 candidates at least, and those candidates, I was one of them, got absolutely thrown under the carpet, and the rules got changed. I was also educated by the township office that this is a fact. Reappointment is part of the business of a planning commission. Part of the board here is if you don't have bylaws, then there's also democratic rules apply, and also Robert rules apply as well. And if you have candidates, they are also nominees, also in this closed session, even by the public. And if you do ignore those candidates and nominees, then you cannot go ahead and just wipe this off and just, oh, by the way, we don't need the candidates, we are going with the reappointment. I changed my mind. You changed your mind already at the previous meetings, and I can't make my mind up because I think we have to change the date of the reappointment. Reappointments, I see. So why was this announced in the township that you would like to have candidates for those openings? And we applied in belief that this board will apply democratic rules, that we will be part of an election process. Where was the election committee? Where was the process of a ballot to have us on there to be democratically elected? I'm not a lawyer, but I think I'm a citizen here, and it's absolutely a farce, and I absolutely pledge that this election or appointment situation was null and void. And you will have this also from me in writing. Unfortunately, I'm pretty busy. I have to leave, and I will be back in about 2 weeks, but I will by email contact you and let you know that this was null and void. You're doing the wrong stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers? All right. That takes us on to board member comments. Anyone at this time? Wayne?
I probably shouldn't stick my nose in this, but About 6 or 7 or 8 months ago, we voted about the churches for some zoning or something.
In the RTM.
Does anybody remember that?
Technology,
Excuse me?
Research and Technology District. This is the general commercial district they're talking about now.
Okay, because I remember I made the motion that we should be able to have churches in any district, and we voted on it, and we voted on it. We voted on it, yes, don't shake your head, Howard. And we voted on it, and I asked for a roll call vote. And it was to have in any district is what I said when I made the motion.
Mr. Dockett? Mr. Dockett, I reviewed the tape after you spoke with me about it, and what you said was you made the motion for churches, and then you made a comment and all other religious institutions and referred to mosques and synagogues, and I remember you saying mosques, either mosques or synagogues, and then you specifically made the motion for churches in an RTM district. So I did review the tape and review the minutes, and it was specific to the RTM district.
I did not. I would have voted on it the way that I'm talking about now if I'd have known that. But I forgot just exactly when it was and why we couldn't find it, because I think that would have settled this situation. I'll stay that I do believe that churches should be in any district. I don't see where we'd exclude them from any district in the township. Thank you. And when I say churches, I meant the rest too, synagogues and mosques and whatever.
I agree with you, Wayne. Any other comments from anyone? All right. That takes us on to correspondence and announcements. Anyone have anything to add from our reports?
Yeah, I have a few things. Just want to let everybody know that the sidewalk along Main Street is moving along. On January 21st, the county put out a finding of well, I don't know if it was January 21st, but they put out a finding of no significant impact. And then on February the 24th, they requested a release of funds as well for that project. So that is moving along, and we hope to now that the EA is done and they requested a release of funds, we hope to get that bid out here shortly. Now remember, we're not managing that project, the county's managing that project.
Great. Anyone else?
Howard, were you going to mention pond hockey?
Oh, thank you. Pond hockey has been canceled.
I believe, though, the chili dip will still take place on
I think it already did.
the chili dip.
When you were in Florida.
I wait.
Wasn't it last week?
No.
No.
Oh, I read it in the paper. I thought it
Yeah.
was.
So I believe that'll be that Saturday. I believe that's the 20th. And I'm pretty sure that will still take place.
All right. That takes us on to our report updates. We'll start with our department head reports. We have Lieutenant Green here for the police. Any questions for Lieutenant Green?
Yes.
Okay, Wayne.
I gotta find it though. I'm in the wrong side here, I guess. Fire department, police department. In the one you sent out with your with all the departments' names and things, Tim. It also says in here that you want to. I'm gonna get a little bit ahead of myself, maybe. You want to hire this Stephen?
Yes.
But I wanted to ask the question of, it says Stephen is a longtime resident of the community. My question is, Is he a resident of Northfield Township? That's my question.
That's correct. He lives in Horseshoe Lake.
Okay, well, when it said, I thought you were pulling a deal. When I looked at it, it says a resident of the community. Thank you very much. That's it I have. That's all I have
That's it?
on the police.
All right, anyone else for the police? No, thank you.
We need that action item.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll make
Okay.
the action. I'll make the motion to recommend to the Board of Trustees the approval appointment of Stephen Noel, is it Frank Tour?
Yes.
For the position of the Northfield Township Police Reserve Office, contingent upon the completion of all departmental requirements.
I'll support. Otto motioned, Ingstrom supported. Those in, you have a question?
Thank you very much for getting somebody from the community.
Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. That takes us to our fire report, and we've got Bill Wagner here. Any questions for Bill?
Yes.
Go ahead, Wayne.
Let's see if I can find what I'm looking for here. Fire department, fire department. I wasn't here. Unexpected change in assessment forfeiture program. I see you have in here, says this is about the unexpected change in assessment forfeiture program from the federal government. That's our DEA officer that we pay for.
Correct.
You say in your report that you were shocked along with the police chief when they stopped payments. You and I talked about this a few months ago when I told you I read about it in the paper. Remember that?
I remember you and I having a conversation, but I don't believe, or I don't recall our conversation as it related to that.
Well, it wasn't a big surprise. And it says, you say at this time you would not recommend any changes in the agreement that the township has with the DEA federal government. I say, why not? They changed the agreement with the township, no more money. So the township pays 100% of this DEA officer's wages, full benefits, plus a car, plus gas, plus insurance, plus. And we need this cop back on the streets in Northfield Township. When are you going to make a decision about this?
I can tell you that after that, I believe it was just after that report, we did have a meeting in Detroit on this, along with all of the other police chiefs, county sheriffs, public safety directors from this area as it related to that. And they were all shocked, as were the people that run that individual unit. We believe that the Department of Justice did not realize what they were doing when they made that decision, and we've been told that they will be re-evaluating this at the end of January. I believe they had another meeting last week. I was out of town and not able to attend, and because they were going to reevaluate at the end of January. So I haven't heard since then. But as I said in there, I will keep you updated. And they seem to encourage us that that this would not continue and it would go back to the way it was.
Well, I read the article in all the papers. What happens is the DEA takes all their property, their cars, their money, their airplanes, their houses, and they sell it. Or they confiscate it. Then they don't bring them to court. They're stealing people's stuff. That's what's happening. And that's why the federal government put a stop to it. Now, do you agree with that or no?
I'm not sure I agree with the way you have just stated that.
Well, pretty much, according to what I've read on it, it's pretty much, you never brought charges on the people. So I'm not gonna harp on it, but I do believe that we need an answer from you about, are we gonna continue to pay this person? We're gonna continue to have him working for the DEA and not here, and we're paying.
As Lieutenant Green just mentioned, I think what you're speaking of is the changes that they made at the state level and not at the federal level.
No, this is a federal program. The DEA is a federal program.
I
It's not a
understand that it
state-
is,
It's
but
not a state program.
but I believe
sir.
the article that you read and the article that
No.
we spoke about was the state level.
No, I don't.
If you could look that back up, I'd like
Well,
to see that
like
again.
I said, we talked about, I was reading it 3 or 4 months ago when we
Right.
talked about it.
And they did make changes 3 or 4 months ago at the state level.
But this is not a state program, sir.
I know that, but we also,
And he's not working for us. The
he
DEA.
actually does work for us. He was in the office today.
Well, but he's assigned to the DEA. We're paying.
That's correct.
And I just think that it's time that if we're not gonna get paid for the guy, we need to get him back here. Thank you very much.
Yep.
I hope we get an answer before long from you. Next thing is, it says that you're asking for, reminding people of the millage that's coming up next month for the 800, how do you say it, Herkowitz, whatever.
The 800 radio, the 800 megahertz radio system in Washtenaw County.
Yeah, okay. The government is not supposed to use township resources to promote millage or elections within 2 months of this election. Now, today's the 8th. There's an election less than around 30 days from now.
I believe that was struck down by a judge yesterday or the day before.
Well, it was signed in the law. Rick Snyder signed it. So I would like to remind you that I think it's still the law right now. And we're not supposed to be able to use public funds to go after the people for more money. Make it easy on yourselves. Thank you.
Any
That's
other
it.
questions for Mr. Wagner? Did you have something else, Bill?
No.
No, all right. All right, that takes us to wastewater treatment plant, and we have Tim Harvesty here. Anyone have questions for Tim? No? All right.
Have one action item?
Yeah. Oh, that's right, sorry.
Want me to do it?
Oh, yeah, I thought you were, sorry.
Okay. I'll make the motion. I gotta put my thoughts together first.
$702, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay. I'll make the motion to request that the board approve the difference between what we put into motion for the purchase of the, what was it, the
$7,842.50.
50 cents, the drive transmission, and the actual cost of the transmission was $8,544.50 for a difference of $702.
$702.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you said 32.
Auto motion, and the chick supported. Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
I would like to just say one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
The break that we had back in the fall at Main Street, 9010 Main Street, we did receive full payment from the gentleman for that,
Oh, great.
for our cost.
Yeah, and that was quite a bit of money, 4,000 of about what, 6, 7?
Almost 5,000. Just under 5,000.
How much was the big truck that pumped it out?
$750 is all.
Oh, okay, so it was 4,750. Thank you.
All right, and Tammy was unable to make it to the meeting this evening. Obviously, we have her complete report here. If you have any questions for her, I would suggest just giving her a call and contacting her. And that gives us to our financial reports. Kathy, do you have anything to share? No? Anyone, questions for Kathy? All right, thank you. Um,
No, but thank you, there's a lot of stuff here, you do a wonderful job, but I don't understand most of it. Thank you.
Takes us on to our manager's report. Howard, do you have anything in addition to your report?
No, ma'am.
No? Anyone questions for Howard?
Yes.
Go ahead, Wayne.
You got on here about the Parks and Rec department. I can ask now or I can ask then, but what I guess I want to ask is where are we going to get the money to do these things that you got in here? As the Parks and Rec Commission does not have any funds, they will need to be board approved of a grant application as it's a match requirement. So in other words, whatever we get from a fund, we'll have to match that. So we're gonna have to have that money. And you got in here. Also, the board will need to approve a contract. Also, the board will need to approve a no-bid contract with your go-to engineering company, OHM. They will be assisting to write the grant. They will be doing the site plan. They'll be doing the engineering. And, you know, usually in the real world, you'll find out what something's going to cost before you do it. So I'm wondering where the money's coming from and how much it is going to be.
Don't know how much it's going to be yet. We don't know what the grant proposal, we don't know what the value of the grant proposal is going to be yet. So we don't know what the match is, and ultimately that would have to be supported, not approved yet, but supported by the township board before we move forward with actually submitting the application.
But why do we, it just doesn't make good business sense to me to have all this happen when they don't have any money. You admit you have no money.
Mr. Dockett, we're trying to make progress and improve this community. It's that simple.
Well, Howard, you have to have money to do that.
That's right.
And I want to know where the money's coming from.
It would come from the general fund.
Well, I don't like them having no bid contracts for OHM for these things. You know, they just, all they do is write invoices and we pay whatever they say. So I don't like it. Thank you. I won't be supporting it.
Just as Mr. Dockett brought it up, for the benefit of those in the audience and for the benefit of the board, let me explain to you what he's talking about. The Parks and Rec Commission has on the agenda tonight the Parks and Rec Master Plan. And one of the projects that we think is a real high impact, high value project for this community is we own a tremendous amount of land assets roughly behind Township Hall, running north to the old Summerwood Homes subdivision and running east to Adler subdivision. And what we would like to do is essentially create a combination of a active and passive park with trails, a few parking establishments, some picnic type stuff, and it'll for the most part be a preserve. But it's absolutely beautiful, forested kind of wetland back there and forested area. There's various contours to the land. There's even water streams that go through that property. It's absolutely gorgeous. Initially, we were going to, and we're on a very tight time frame. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we can get everything done in time. But initially, we were going to apply for a development grant on the property. But there is still, although we own probably 95% of the property, there are little pieces that we don't own, particularly along the primary sort of access points, if you will. And there are a few little pieces that we don't own. What we do plan to do is submit a grant And I'm not asking for debate tonight. I will freely admit that there is some and should be some debate as to the legitimacy of the grant, because we will be asking for dollars to purchase the rest of the properties and purchase them all in one lump sum. And while that will be, there will be a cost to that, we'll ask for that to be primarily paid for through the Natural Resources Trust Fund grant through the state of Michigan, but we will have to have a match. The place where there may be some debate is obviously we get those parcels little by little, year by little, on a sort of very minimal cost basis, but we could be waiting another 10 years before we acquire all of the ones on the side where there's sort of access points, or we could be waiting another 5 years before we get some of the critical properties that we need. So, so the idea for that grant is to start with year one, start with an acquisition grant, and then if the Natural Resources Trust Fund funds that acquisition grant, they almost guarantee at that, not guarantee, but there's a really good chance you get a lot more points than if the following year you submit a development grant to build your parking lots or build your trails. So again, you know, one of my manager's reports is stuff that I'm working on. Some of the stuff hasn't even been vetted with Parks and Rec, but it is something that I'm working on pretty significantly and will be addressing to Parks and Rec, and I see no reason why they would say we don't want to do that. But that's what Mr. Dockett is talking about, and that's the plan of action.
That wouldn't interfere with 7 Mile going through someday, would it?
No, we would.
Yeah, I always have hopes for that, because it's nice that you're thinking about a park when the quality of life, we were promised our quality of life back someday on East Shore, and I wait, you know, so that's it.
Yeah, we would, as part of the grant application, we would actually show the right-of-way of 7 Mile, and we won't touch 7 Mile. You know, we may have a path, obviously, that goes through it, but if 7 Mile were to ever get built, it would be, you know, a crosswalk or something. Ideally, I don't think we really even want to touch 7 Mile or the path that would become 7 Mile. I think it's a long way off, realistically, for it to be built, but yeah, but at least that area will be protected. Great.
I'm not against Parks and Recs. I'm just the first things first. I mean, first usually you get the funding. Second, you do the project, and you just do it backwards, Howard. I don't understand it. But I'm certainly not against it, but I think you need to go and get millage.
All right, any other questions for Howard? No? All right, that takes us to our ZBA report. Jackie, is there anything to report?
We did not have a ZBA meeting last month. We are having one next Tuesday.
Great. Planning Commission. Janet.
The Planning Commission met February 3rd. The Planning Commission held officer elections. Ken Dignan is chair, Janet Chick is vice chair, Mark Stanalicho is secretary, Marlene Chalkley is ZBA representative, Sam Iaquinto is Parks and Recreation representative. Also, a public hearing was held on the revisions to the RTM district standards. Of significance is an increase to the floor area ratio of 25% to 49%. Further changes to the bylaws were discussed. A final draft will go to the township attorney for review to make sure we are in compliance with any state requirements. And there was a discussion on the addition of churches, a conditional use in the general commercial district. Township planner Sally Hodges will report on this issue after a review of the request surrounding zoning districts in that area and a suggestion to expand the district beyond the railroad tracks. And then Township Manager Howard Fink gave a presentation on the Parks and Rec Master Plan, and it was a 30-minute great presentation. The Planning Commission unanimously applauded the Parks and Rec Committee that put it together and the master plan itself, and gave accolades and kudos to everybody involved in it. It's a wonderful document.
Great, thank you, Janet. Parks and Rec. Tracy.
We're on the agenda tonight, and there's nothing to add.
Great. Kathy, financial report? Yeah, you're on. Yeah, 'cause you're already on the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, yes. All right, so that takes care of our reports. That takes us on to our next item of business, which is our public hearing for the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So it's an opportunity for anyone to give us your comments or thoughts. So I'll make a motion to begin our public hearing on the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Engstrom motioned and Chick supported. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak about our Parks and Recreation Master Plan? Any comments or thoughts from the board level? Janet?
If you haven't read through it, you should. It's really a wonderful document. I mean, you can tell they worked their little butts off getting it put together, and I'm very excited for what it could possibly do for the township.
I agree. Anyone else? Go ahead, Jackie.
I just want to thank Tracy and thank Howard and all the members of the Park and Rec Committee for bringing this forward. It's a long time coming. I know it has always been a thought to develop one, and it's really good when you can see the actual plan, and now it's time to execute it. So I give you a lot of kudos on that.
All right. I guess we don't have any other speakers. So I always call this 3 times, just so everyone has an opportunity to jump in if they would like. I'll make a motion, or anyone else? Going once? Anyone else? Going twice? 3 times? All right, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Engstrom motioned and Chick supported. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes.
Would you like me to do the quick presentation, or not necessary?
I've watched the Planning Commission and I've read it. I mean, does anyone else need it?
Okay.
Tracy did it, so.
All right, sounds good.
Howard, don't do it. Howard, don't do anything quick.
All right, that takes us on to our agenda items, and number 1 is the resolution for the Parks and Master Plan. So I'll make a motion to approve 16-537, which is the, I should have the whole thing in front of me, sorry. Thank you. Motion to approve the resolution 16-537, which is the resolution of Northfield Township Board of Trustees, Washtenaw County, Michigan, approving the 5-year Parks and Recreation Master Plan prepared by the Parks and Recreation Commission.
Support.
Engstrom motioned and Chick supported. I guess we'll do a roll call. Chick?
Yes.
Brun? Dockett?
No.
Engstrom,
The
yeah.
the reason I'm voting no is because there's no funding for it.
Engstrom, yes. Westover?
Yes.
Otto?
Yes.
Thomas? Yes. All right. That takes us on to our agenda item number 2, which is the Verizon cell phone tower, which we talked about at our last workshop. Everyone's had a chance to think about it. I'm just going to go ahead and make a motion to approve the Verizon cell phone tower agreement as presented. Engstrom motioned and Thomas supported.
Discussion?
Sure.
Okay. I apologize because I wasn't there for the meeting, but I did listen to it, and I did have some thoughts on it, and I hope people will consider this. I'm absolutely in favor of the benefits to our emergency responders and the residents that may benefit from better service. But what I also heard was that regardless of whether we approve it for this location, one will go up in that area. So for me, it was kind of a wash. We're still going to benefit from it no matter where it is. The other, and because it was stated that the area, there are other private property owners that are interested in doing that. And so for us, I had to kind of not consider that. The other comment was that this was a great return for a nearly 50 square foot piece of property. What I didn't hear mentioned was the devaluation of the property and surrounding properties by the erection of a cell tower, not just where it sits, but where it is adjacent to surrounding properties. I personally would rather see beautiful homes on North Territorial or have a horse farm near Station Number 2. A cell phone tower there would make it more difficult, and the obligation is relatively long-term. I did a lot of research, and I have a lot of links if anybody wants to read them, that the devaluation of property where cell phone towers are located and surrounding properties can be anywhere from 44% to as high as 20%. So it's something to consider. I also was uncomfortable with the contract only because I think it favors the Verizon better than it favors the township.
All right, thank you, Janet. Wayne?
The cover letter on this is a legal review of this document of 3 paragraphs that for the proposed lease are not in keeping with the typical legal recommendations. This is from our attorney. So they say that this lease is not typical whatsoever. It's all the benefits for Verizon, none for the township. The other thing is that the cover sheet is dated 3 months ago, September 17th, 2015, and the lease is dated January 11th.
That's the revised lease, remember?
So my question is, why is there 90 days difference? You answered the question. Why do we not have anything from the attorney on the new lease? That's what I want to know. Why no report from them? So I think it's very strange that we got a 3-month-old September 17th letter and a January 2016 lease with no information from the attorney. I will not be voting for this.
I can address that if you'd like.
Yes, thank you, Brent.
In terms of what was in our previous letter, none of the issues that we had raised in our previous letter have been addressed substantially by the revision. As a result, we weren't asked to provide a new letter. Our concerns are just the same as they ever were. The only changes in the document are changes sort of in payment terms and things of that nature. So the concerns that we had in September are not changed today. They're the same concerns.
And you don't think we should know that? We should not get a letter from you stating that. Is that right?
As a general matter, we get directed by...
Don't you think we should have that information?
As a general matter, we draft letters when the board asks us to.
Excuse me?
When the board asks us to, we draft opinion letters. If you'd like for us to review it and come back with another
Well, it
letter,
just makes sense to me that we're entering into another different contract, and there's been no review of it. So I don't.
That's not accurate.
I don't think that's right.
That's not accurate.
How would
That is accurate.
It is not accurate,
Yes,
Mr.
it
Dockett,
is.
and I don't want to
Yes,
get...
it is. It's accurate. I'm reading it right off the page here.
Mr. Dockett, it's the same legal review. There's no change.
You're not an attorney, Howard.
Mr. Dockett, I'm not going to argue with you.
Okay, then
The
don't
attorney
argue.
just
I'm
told you.
I'm making this a fact, a statement.
It's the
So
same.
I don't want you to say, no, that's not true.
It's the same legal review.
It is not the same.
Can I ask you a question, though? The Verizon came to the meeting and they did make some changes that they said were more favorable to us, like 15 years, and there was
Those are
some
all-
change in the right of sale or the right of releasing. I can't exactly remember what he said, but does that make it any better legally for us than?
It says it's for 25 years, that's what it says, not 15.
Well, I thought they changed that.
They didn't change it. It was
Oh.
always 15 years.
Well, what did they come and say they had changed? They
They
came here
changed-
specifically said, oh, we looked at it and we took some of your concerns into,
They clarified some of the issues that were always there in the previous lease that were not clarified the first time around because Verizon wasn't here to discuss the
but
issue.
that's not
There-
the way it came across. He didn't say he was clarifying things. He said he
I-
was actually changing
I was going to
some
get to the
things.
changes, okay? There are two primary things that they changed. The one primary thing that they changed was to allow us to negotiate directly with people that want to co-locate on the tower, which is in your memo. That gives us a little bit more legal leeway because we have the ability to dictate the terms with the individuals that are going to come to that tower. They slightly decreased the rate of increase from a year-to-year basis, and they clarified in the contract because, you know, it's not a 25-year contract, it's a 15-year contract with 2 5-year renewals thereafter. So they clarified those statements, which were part of the original contract. They clarified the issue of what would happen if somebody bought Verizon out. They clarified that issue, which was part of the original contract. So they created some clarification on the legal side, but the change in the actual contract that Verizon has presented is mostly a financial change in that there's a potential that we get additional revenue because now we negotiate directly with the co-locators as opposed to getting a percentage from Verizon. So we can create another contract and land agreement.
So when you say they clarified some of the legal stuff, did you think they did that for the benefit of our attorney? Did our attorney, when they wrote this letter of their opinion, they didn't need clarification, correct? They understood it was in there. That clarification was for the benefit of the board, you would say?
Yes.
Okay, and one more question. When someone goes to put up a tower, let's say it went to the neighboring farm, and they said, oh, Verizon came to me and I put this tower up. Do they have to go before, like, zoning? Does that require a variance? Do they need a permit to build that? This is several stories tall, correct?
Correct.
And then do postcards get sent out to the neighbors? Because that's who I haven't really heard from at all. I
That is
haven't
correct.
heard from anybody saying, yeah, we don't care, we love the thing in our
You're
backyard.
only voting on the contract.
Because I go by there, that's a pristine area, it really is. There's nothing, it's pretty beautiful there, and that is going to be there. And at the same time, if Chief Wagner wants it and it benefit the fire department, I think, that's a great thing too, so it's hard to.
Well,
All right, I want to answer your questions before we have more comments. You're only voting on the contract, okay? So the only vote that you have in front of you tonight, and the reason why it's back on the agenda is because the contract terms changed. The legal side of it didn't change much, but the contract terms changed, and I put it back on the agenda because of that.
well, it's a different size, so the contract's changed quite a bit too.
So, and so the
The-
changes have made it, in your opinion, better?
I was in favor of it from day one, and I am still in favor of
And
it.
so specifically the changes, why do you think that's an improvement?
It's an improvement because there's the potential of additional revenue for the township. If
No,
there's
we
a-
always had that. The changes they made in the contract, specifically those changes,
The
how did
financial-
they make it more palatable for
The
us?
financial changes made it more
Just
palatable. You're only voting on the contract
No, I got
terms.
that.
So it has to go to planning commission, and it is a conditional use at the planning commission, which means that the neighbors have to be notified. Neighbors have to be notified under conditional use, Marlene? Neighbors have to be notified, and then it comes back to the board for approval. So if it comes out that all of the neighbors are against it, that's a whole nother vote. We're only voting on the terms of the contract, as though if any one of you individually was the landowner. So Verizon would come to you and work out the details of the financial arrangement and the legal contract before they ever came in and started a site plan process.
So we're not signing the contract, because it could, in effect, at the end, if there was enough objection to it,
That's
might
right.
not happen.
The board could theoretically vote it down if the people didn't want it, or if there was enough objection and you felt it wasn't appropriate for that area. I mean, you're signing the contract only contingent, obviously, that it passes all of the site.
No, I gotcha. And it's not me. I mean, I'm concerned about with the people in that area. I
Sure.
can't even see it from my house. So. Thank you, Howard.
Janet?
So as I read the information, they basically said that they are not interested in any further negotiations at all on the contract. This is it, correct?
That's what they said last time too, but they're back. So I think we can do a lot better.
Yeah, hi, my name is Bob Prisbillo. I represent Verizon Wireless, and I worked on the agreement with Howard and with the township attorney, Brad, and we've been working on this for quite some time. And at the study session, we explained why we needed some of the things in the contract. We did the three areas of concern that the township attorney had. We explained at length of why we needed those items in the contract. So yes, I mean, we've given all we can, but there are some bare minimums that we need in the contract. We need a minimum of 15-year term. I mean, this is a 5-year deal with 4 or 5-year automatic renewals, so it's essentially a 25-year lease. But the township has the right to terminate after the second renewal term, so essentially making it a 15-year lease. But we need to have a minimum of 15 years because we're investing $500,000 in this site. If we had $500,000 cell sites being taken down every year because contracts were terminating whenever a landlord wanted to, our network wouldn't be able to operate. I mean, it would be like constantly taking out pieces of a jigsaw puzzle while you're trying to put it together. I mean, it would be impossible.
My Verizon bill's tripled or doubled in the last 3 years. So you guys are trying to lock something up for 25 years. You're really hitting a home run here.
Well, we're trying to
And
improve.
we're not getting much out of it.
Then certainly, Mr. Daka, you understand we're trying to improve our service to you and to all our other Verizon customers. But Howard's point.
You don't ever lower the rates, sir.
Well, I can't speak to that specifically. I'm not on that side of it. But to Howard's point, we came back and further gave the township the opportunity to generate revenue on any additional co-locator. So if AT&T or T-Mobile wants to co-locate on that tower, they would have to come to the township and work out a lease agreement. So in effect, you could double your rent, triple your rent every time another carrier comes onto the tower. One of the other areas of concern that the township attorney had was the right of first refusal. And we narrowed down that right of first refusal so it essentially only relates to a company that wants to come in and buy out the lease from the township that's specifically geared towards the wireless industry. So any other possibility that the township wants to sell that property or sign it, they have the ability to do that. And the reason that we have that in there are some financial companies out there in the marketplace now that are specifically targeting these wireless lease agreements, and they're calling landlords and saying, hey, we'll give you X amount of dollars up front right now if you assign us your lease agreement today. So we're trying to protect against that happening in all of our lease agreements. So we're not trying to hold up or tie up the township property or limit the township's ability to do whatever they want with their property, just like with any other landlord. We're simply trying to protect that specific finite interest in the contract. So that's why that is in there. And Brad has narrowed that really down to a fine and that we agreed to. So that was the second issue. The third issue was, what was the third issue? Can't think of it now.
Well, the third issue you decreased. I mean, the third change was that you went from 3% to 2%.
Right. So we had to. We no longer can pay 3%. I mean, we now are limited to paying a 2% annual escalation rate, and even now we're being limited to pay that. I mean, you know, that's the way the markets are right now. The financial markets, to go out and get money. That's how it is. I mean, the stock markets are going down. You can't go out. You can't get any interest on savings accounts. You don't make any. I mean, so that's the reality of the financial markets.
You guys might have cooked up a deal and you might know what's going on, but I think that we should have known, and I think we should have a report from our attorney. That's my opinion.
And I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board has.
Janet?
I just ask a question unrelated to the contract. So 15 to 25 years is a long time. The technology changes very quickly. Is there any projection out there that this could become obsolete and you'd have to come out and take this tower down and?
That's a great point, and I'm going to answer that in two parts. The first part is I've actually been doing this for 20 years. So 20 years ago, that same question came up. Well, 25 years is a long time. We'll be having satellites by that. Well, here we are 20 years later, and we're only 5 years away from renewing thousands of contracts. So I do understand your point, and that is possible, but it is possible on the other side, too, that in 25 years, this technology may still be dependent on towers. The other side of that is it's in your contract that if we terminate the contract or the contract's terminated for any reason, then we're required to take out the facility. So that is specifically addressed in the lease agreement. Sure.
And I know a handful of people that live in that area, and they watch our meetings, that said that they would welcome the tower. The service is so bad in that area. And they said if we turned it down, they'd even want it on their property. So
Let them make the money.
all right, any other discussion down here? No? Okay, we have a motion on the table, and we have completed our discussion. So just to recap, Lisa, I made the motion, Thomas supported, correct?
Roll call vote. Will you start down on this end?
You want a roll call vote?
Yes.
Okay,
I'd start here or change.
okay. Janet?
No.
What?
No.
Braun?
Yes.
Wayne?
No.
Oh, Docket. Engstrom, yes. You're abstaining?
I abstain.
Otto?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now that 2 has passed, that takes us on to 3, the distribution of funds from the cell phone tower agreement. I will make a motion to approve the distribution of funds from the Verizon cell phone tower agreement as presented.
Support.
Engstrom motioned, and was that Chick?
Yep.
Supported. Any discussion?
Yeah, why don't we wait and see if this thing flies before we do that? Why are we distributing money when it's got to go to the planning commission and all that? These Wagner and Howard just can't wait to get their claws into this money, you know? Why are we doing it now?
I agree to postpone. I don't agree about the clause.
Well, I think we should hold off on the money.
Feedback, I'd be happy to pull the motion off the table.
I guess why,
We can vote it and see what happens.
I mean, it doesn't matter. No one's gonna get distributed the money if we don't receive the money. I mean, no one's gonna get. Yeah.
Something could come up between now and then. We might need it someplace, a little bit of it someplace
Well,
else.
I would also defer to Mr. Wagner. Something could come up, and Mr. Wagner will still need his roof on the fire department.
Why would Wagner get this money? If he wants to, well, he gets the $700,000 millage from the township
Because
to
as your
take care
town- as your-
take care of his fire department. So why should he get another $420,000?
Because as your township manager, I believe that Mr. Wagner's fire department is the department in most need of these resources.
Then you go out and get millage for him. You don't hand him $420,000 from the taxpayer's property.
Mr. Dockett, you asked me a question. I gave you an honest answer.
Well, that's a pretty slim answer.
All right. Doesn't matter
Doesn't
either
matter.
way. Well, let's just leave it on there. Any further discussion? Oh, did I have a second? Yes, from Ms. Chick, thank you. Okay, those in favor? Aye.
Roll call vote.
You want a roll call? Janet? Braun? Dockett?
No.
Engstrom, yes. You're still, oh wait, no, you can come back in, right?
To be clear, we're just voting on Bill's fire department
Money.
receiving the funds from the tower.
75-25.
Yeah, 75-25.
Yes.
Otto?
Yes.
Thomas?
I'm sorry to complicate this, but I'm in favor of 75-25 of the base funds, but if we get co-locator revenue, that's above and beyond, and I don't think we're voting on that. And if we just agree to 75-25, then that money goes 75-25, and it's additional funds that's not gone through kind of an earmarking process. So what do we do with that?
I would agree with that.
Change the motion.
Can we
Make an
add to that
amendment.
motion, Lisa, that it's just as the, how do we want to say that?
Make an amendment, a friendly amendment.
Base rent?
Yeah, base rent,
say-
approve the cell phone distribution, the distribution of funds from the Verizon cell phone tower agreement on the base rent only,
On this contract.
on this
On this contract, because a co-locator will be a separate contract.
so we don't even need to change it then, right?
No, it's on
Sorry.
this contract. The vote
Sorry,
is on-
Lisa. I'm not making a change. The motion on the table is to approve the distribution of funds from the Verizon cell phone tower agreement as presented, the 75-25 split. We have all discussion, we have our first and second, and I think Thomas was our last yes, correct? You got that? Okay, sorry for all the confusion. Number 4 is the increasing investments. Kathy?
Yeah, I just want to
has
say,
passed
I'll
out.
make this really quick. Howard and Rick put together this wonderful report, which I handed out at the beginning of the meeting. And I think the most important paragraph is the top paragraph on page 2. I just want to make a little clarification myself about what money we're talking about here. First of all, you have to know, I don't even need a vote from the board to do this. This is presented in the spirit of information and transparency. So we have our 85% fund balance that we say. We call that our nest egg or our savings. We use different terms for it. And that's enough money to pay 85% of our bills for 1 year. We have that money, we don't have that money and an investment fund. Part of that money is what is in our investment fund. The other part of it is in our general checking account. In other words, part of our extra money sits right now in CDs, and part of it sits in our everyday checking account that we use to run the township. We safely have enough money in cash in the checking account to pay our bills, even at our low times during the year. That's just before the taxes hit, especially around December. I could safely take a little bit of that cash and just buy some CDs, and that's what I'm doing. Instead of leaving it in the general checking account, it's just going to be in CDs. And if you look at Howard and Rick's recommendation on the second page, the least aggressive is to take between 10 and 50. That leaves plenty of money in there all year long. To be really aggressive, I could start moving money in and out every 6 months. You know, I could take it away, you know. But the CDs aren't paying enough to make it worth being that aggressive. It would cost us more in administrative costs to keep doing that and remembering to do it so we didn't run out of money. So that's going to be what I'll talk about at the workshop. If anybody has any questions after you read this, there's some graphs and showing if anybody has any questions in the difference between the general fund, what's in the general fund, what does it mean? Otherwise, I'll just go through with it because we don't really need a vote, and I'm not doing anything. I'm not spending or changing anything. Just making it a little safer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Howard and Rick, too.
Okay, that takes us on to number 5, the cost recovery services agreement. Wayne?
Cost recovery company. That is another shakedown, scam artist, money grabbing, private collecting private collection agency that we're dealing with here. Why would our police and safety department promote this? I do not understand. These are accident victims out here on the street. We pay our police and fire department taxes. That's where our tax money goes, to go out there on an accident. That's the whole thing about this. We're supposed to do that for our victims. So I think this is nothing but a big scam. I'm very disappointed with our public safety department trying to promote this. I will be voting no on it. Thank you.
Go ahead, Janet.
Could you explain exactly what this is so I understand and the audience understands?
Last month, the board approved the cost recovery ordinance for the police department. The ordinance that was approved is for the collection of recouping cost expended for the investigations of traffic crashes and drunk driving. The specifics of the recouping of the cost would be towards the at-fault hazardous action driver, which would be the person who caused the crash, not the innocent victim, and it would be towards a non-resident, because residents pay taxes, and generally 85% of our crashes occur that they're at the at-fault of a non-resident. So we have a non-resident that's driving hazardly, gets into a crash or causes a crash to an innocent resident victim. It costs money for the police department to go and investigate that crash scene. That's for the benefit of the insurance company, because the insurance company collects that data. The insurance company then adjusts their rates based on their hazardous action of the at-fault drivers. So what the police department is looking at doing is recouping, like I said, the cost associated with policing the crash that is caused by the hazardous actions of the at-fault driver who is a non-resident. On top of that, the cost recovery ordinance addresses drunk driving incidents. So you have a drunk driving arrest, it costs the police department money to investigate that drunk driving, and it costs the police department money and manpower to administer the breathalyzer. It costs the money for the police department to go to court to testify. Those are actions caused by the individual themselves. They're not caused by anybody else but their own actions by drinking and getting behind the wheel. So the purpose of that is, like I said, to recoup the cost of their actions. It'd be no different if you know, a semi-truck drives down the road with hazardous materials and ends up crashing, and there's a spill on the road. Well, it costs money to clean that up, and it costs money to maintain a level of protection. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to recoup the cost that's associated with hazardous actions of people getting behind the wheel, driving hazardly, and that are not residents of this township, because residents of this township do pay their taxes, and we don't want.
So basically, is it like you bill that person for whatever cost that it costs them, or the cost of township to go after them?
It's actually, you're billing the insurance company. You're
Okay,
not even billing
it's the
that.
insurance company, all right.
Yep, you're
okay.
not even really billing that person directly. It's the insurance company.
All right, thank you.
That's not true.
And
What
if I
happened-
might
we're
add,
not- we're not billing anybody. They turn this over to a private outfit. And these
that's
people-
based
and
on
these-
what we
and
submit to
these
them.
people
If
are-
we don't submit to them,
these
then they don't
people-
bill.
These people are unscrupulous. They're no good. It's all over the country. You can go on the internet and find what people think of this. And there's another thing is, they have no way of collecting it. If you don't have to pay this. The insurance companies don't pay it. They're not gonna hand their money over to the police department. So the insurance company's not paying it, and you cannot collect it, you cannot force it.
This is, just so everybody knows, this is no different than what we've been doing in the fire department
I was
for
just gonna make
about
that
12
comment.
years.
So, Bill, in the fire department.
But the
you-
fire department was doing it, weren't they, Jackie?
What the fire department does is in regards to the ambulance, the fire trucks being at the scene, that type of thing, they charge the insurance company for that. There are credit collectors in Michigan. I know one in Lansing, I know one out in Grand Rapids, I know one out in Battle Creek. This is what they do for a living, and I can tell you that this is the percentage that this company is collecting is around the same percentage of what they collect on the medical side. So
Yeah.
the only question I had is, there isn't any company in Michigan that does this for the police department?
None that's being widely used to the extent that they're being used. I couldn't find any locally.
Okay.
And I can tell you the company we use for the fire department serves many fire departments in southeast Michigan, but they don't serve police departments.
Okay, that's the one in Lansing, though.
No, ours is Acumed, which is downriver somewhere, I
Okay.
believe.
Yeah.
Angie, did you have some questions?
I think Bill answered mine. So the company we use on the fire department side is not this company? It's a
Correct, different company, but the percentage is the same.
Okay,
they-
and what Wayne was talking about was an article basically about this company inflating prices to
Right.
people. So how do we ensure that that's not happening on our end? So the cost that they collect, the money that they collect is determined by them or by us?
Well, first, the article's 5 years old, so it's not even relevant, I don't think. Second, we establish, that's one of the things we're going to, I think, vote on
What do you
tonight.
mean, my article that I gave these people?
That's correct. It was
But
dated
there's-
2011.
I have 4, 5, 6 other ones.
No, I understand.
They're out there. All you have to do is go on the internet.
Yeah,
They're
and
there.
I understand that this
They're
company
up
has
to date.
addressed those concerns too.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what
So,
we would
so
do
as,
in terms-
yeah, as I was saying, tonight, after this agenda item is the next agenda item, which is the cost recovery schedule, which is the fee that the board is going to adopt that we're allowed to charge. So we provide that fee to cost recovery, and they bill that. So that's the fee that they bill. So say, for example, if we bill for 1 hour at a traffic crash and the board approves the recommendations tonight, there would be $193 for the use of a patrol car and I think 50 some odd dollars for 1 hour of a police officer's time. So in a sense, the total bill would say be, and I'm terrible with math, but 140 some odd dollars, or 240 some odd dollars. So that's the information we would get for cost recovery. Cost recovery then would submit that bill to the insurance company for that amount. If the insurance company pays the total amount, cost recovery would keep 25% and we would get the rest. And we do get an itemized list every month for the fees that are collected, what cost recovery's fees were, what they've taken and what they've sent to us. And that's based on all the cases that we submit to them. If we don't submit a case to them, there'll be no collection.
So I do want to make a comment. So I think it really you really have to look at the state that that these articles are in. If you have one in the state of Michigan, it may be a little different. Michigan has totally different no-fault regulations than any other state in the United States. I mean, they are totally different. We pay 100% medical on accidents through our insurance company.
I understand the catastrophic.
Okay.
Yeah, we're the only state ahead.
So, I mean, that's why we pay the
But-
most
but
in our
they're
insurance.
not dealing with us. They're dealing with some company that's a scam artist that's collecting for the money. And that's what I don't like. And they're, how do we know what they're doing? And the next thing is, it's not binding. You don't have to pay it. My cousin is an insurance person. He said, we are not paying unless, he said, we're going to raise if they want to have this, we will raise their rates and they can pay insurance and then we'll pay off. Otherwise, we're not paying a penny. The only thing they pay is for the ambulance. They pay nothing for the police or fire department. The insurance companies that I know about, they pay not one penny. And there's no way that they can force these people to pay either.
Janet, did you have, yep.
Yep, so this company's been working in Michigan already, correct?
That's correct.
Do they operate some kind of, like a recovery rate? What is percentage of actual claims that they actually get paid on?
I'm going to be guessing, but I think that we had this conversation. I had this conversation with her, and it was about, I want to say 65, 70%.
That's not bad.
I provided our accident statistics to them in the initial phases of this, and they said that we could potentially recoup, say, about $20,000 in the first year.
What is Cost Recovery Corporation doing to earn their commission?
Well, they're billing the insurance company.
Right.
They're negotiating back and forth with collecting from the insurance companies and distributing the funds to us. They have the resources and the manpower to constantly be in communications and negotiations with the insurance company more than, of course, somebody from our police department would be able to do it. And plus, they have the expertise. So that's where their fee comes in.
So that's a good point you just brought up. So they can negotiate the amount?
Yes.
Okay, but do they get okay from the township?
Everything
Okay.
has to be negotiated in writing
Okay.
before they're able to do it, yes.
And from what I understand from their agreement, if they collect nothing, we pay nothing.
That's correct.
If I could add real quick too, one of the main reasons that departments like Northfield Township, Ann Arbor Township, and other communities along these highways have these ordinances is because we spend so much time on policing and fire department response on the highways of, non-residents and non-tax paying people for the township. On the fire side, we probably spend a little bit more time than the police side because MSP polices most, I don't know if it's probably 50-50 of the accidents on US 23, where the fire department responds to all of them. So that's the big reason, is because you're using a lot of township resources out on a highway and you're not being reimbursed for it.
The one comment that I would make is for the states that allow cost recovery services for emergency services, this is a very, very common ordinance and system in lots of units of government, lots of municipalities. It's more common than it's not, and it's becoming even more common today as costs rise. So
It's non-binding, though. You don't have to pay.
Any other comments? We have it on our agenda, so I'm going to go out there and make a motion to approve the cost recovery services agreement as provided.
Roll call vote.
I need a second first.
I support.
Ingstrom motioned, Otto supported. Mr. Dockett has requested a roll call. Change it up a little bit. Thomas?
Yes.
Otto?
Yes.
Westover?
Could you
Yes.
make it subject to attorney's review?
Subject to attorney review.
Thank you.
Can you slide that in, Lisa? Thank you.
Did anybody change their vote after that?
No. Westover, you were a yes, correct? Ingstrom was yes. Dockett?
No.
Braun? Chick?
Yes.
Thank you. That takes us to number 6, the cost recovery schedule. I'll make a motion to approve the cost recovery schedule as provided, subject to attorney review. Ingstrom motioned and Braun supported.
Quick
So-
question.
Yep.
How did we come up with this schedule?
The Cost Recovery Corporation did extensive research on coming up with the actual cost, or the reasonable accepted cost, and they actually provided the figures to us. In looking at our cost, that kind of cost study that we did, we were right in line there, and ours was actually done, I think, back in 2005. So it needs to be updated, but we were probably, I want to say, at $42 an hour, and cost recovery is, I think, is at 50, per officer. So, so of course, with ours having needed to be updated, I kind of went with them because they done tremendous studies. It's a cost that is accepted by most insurance agencies in the states that they provide a service for.
Any other questions?
I just have one. Do you know if they pre-negotiate rates with insurance companies?
I don't know.
Okay, I was just wondering.
All right, any other?
Roll call.
Roll call again. Let's really change it up. Docket.
No.
Brun. Yes. Ingstrom, yes. Chick.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Westover.
Yes.
Otto.
Yes, you really messed me up.
Did I get all 7? All right, keeping us all on our toes. Number 7, the Whitmore Lake Special Assessment District Award of Bid.
Hi, Brian's here. Just to be quick, I guess, Brian, just correct me if I'm wrong, but recommend that the board approve the bid for Joe Rika Excavating in the amount of
$473,994.75.
what Brian said.
$473,994.75.
So I'd ask for that motion.
You want just a
Oh,
little?
and you want the contingency to be put in there? Because there was a,
You do have some contingency in the assessment.
okay.
I think it's more of just a reminder that unforeseen things could occur during any kind of construction project, and there could be some changes to that amount. Just as a preamble, Joe Rika Excavating is a contractor that we have worked with, and actually it's a contractor who's done work for the township before, and we feel very good about their ability to perform well, and we feel very good about that amount. That was actually below our estimate by about $50,000, so
Okay.
we think you're getting a very good contractor and a very good fee.
I would like to say that this Joe Rika is very, very good.
Great, good to hear.
I know, I've been on jobs.
I'd like to
where
make the
that-
motion to approve the bid and award it to Joe, is it Ricotta?
I think it's
Rika.
Rika
Rika.
Excavating in the amount of $473,994.75.
Support.
Otto motioned and Chick supported. Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes. That takes us on to number 8, which is the grinder pump quote. I'll make a motion to approve the grinder pump bid from, how is it, Du Bois? Du Bois? Du Bois?
Du Bois Cooper.
Du Bois Cooper, as presented. We have a motion on that. Thank you. Ingstrom motioned and Chick supported. Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. That takes us on to number 9, the Whitmore Lake Special Assessment District for Construction Services. And
Recommend a motion to approve.
hold on, I got my papers out of order.
Are we doing the 92 or the
85. Second page under compensation.
Yeah, 85,000. You should be able to see that from a mile away. 85,000.
Well, yeah.
Are you
Okay,
sure?
I'll make a motion to approve the Whitmore Lake Special Assessment District construction services for Tetra-Tech in the amount of $85,000 as presented in our package. Ooh, dueling for it. Who wants it? Okay, Westover gets it. Ingstrom motion and Westover supported. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very
Brian.
much. I look forward to this. So.
That takes us on to the second call to the public. Once again, it's an opportunity for anyone to get up and share your thoughts and comments, anything that you would like. We do try to limit you to 3 minutes, and just for everyone watching, this is not a question and answer session for us. It is just an opportunity to listen to your thoughts and comments. Do we have any speakers this evening for our second call to the public?
Is Mary coming?
Mary Devlin, 9211 Brookside. I was at the last meeting, the workshop, and I remember people coming up here and bad-mouthing Sam Iaquinto, saying that, you know, he was argumentative, he was disrespectful, and so on and so forth on the Planning Commission. I have been to a lot of meetings that Sam has been a part of, either on this board or otherwise, and he has never, ever, to my knowledge, ever spoke disrespectful to anyone, even when he could have, but chose not to. And I have one other thing I want to say tonight. I have been going to meetings for going on 30 years. I am so disgusted with you, Mr. Dockett. You sit up here, you argue, and you argue with people who have expertise on issues that you don't have expertise on, and I'm really sick and tired of it. And it needs to stop. And nobody says anything about you standing up here and arguing with people, or even cussing at times. But I didn't hear the people last week say anything about that. And it needs to stop. And I hope, personally, I hope you don't run again. Thank you.
You mean I won't be able to count on your vote, Mary?
No comment. You can wait till board member comments, all right? Do we have any other speakers for our call to the public? No, that takes us to board member comments. Wayne, would you like to say anything?
Yes. Cost the good people in Northfield Township $805,213 the last 3 weeks to operate the township. I'd like to say we should please try to use and buy locally. And I'd like to have Mary be my Valentine. Thank you. Be my Valentine.
All right. Anyone else down on this side? Am I right? No? Anyone down here?
I'll make a comment.
Yep.
I just wanted to comment to Craig in regards to our emails. We have been struggling probably for the past 3 years on our county email boxes that we use. So if, and I am going to offer, some people know it, some people don't, but if you get bounced back from mine, because I change it probably every month and it continues on like that. I even have it connected to my phone and it still doesn't work right. So my personal email is JackieOtto, JackieOtto @yahoo.com. You can use that.
Great. Anyone else down here? I just have one announcement.
Was you waving your hand?
I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I just have an announcement regarding the assessing department. We'll be sending out the 2016 Notice of Assessments on February 26th. If you have any questions regarding your 2016 assessment or would like an appointment to meet with the Board of Review, you may call the assessing department after February 26th. Board of Review is meeting on March 15th from 1 o'clock in the afternoon to 9 p.m., and once again on March 17th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And this is your opportunity to appeal your assessment. That's all I've got. And Janet?
I just wanted to actually ditto Jackie's remarks about the township email. Mine hasn't been working for months. I get notes, personal emails from people saying it's not working. Yes, it's not working. So please feel free to use my personal email. I have no problem with that whatsoever. I also want to thank the fire department and Chief Wagner for a couple of weeks ago. Katrina down at the dispatch and Angela Bennett, they were awesome. And thank you so much for everything. You guys are amazing.
Go ahead, Bill.
Thank you for that. But if you would, I'd like to read a two-paragraph article out of the Detroit Free Press in reference to Mr. Dockett's comments about me putting the 800 megahertz in my board report. A federal judge agreed Friday to put at least a temporary halt to an election law bill passed in December that would restrict how local and school officials communicate with the residents about ballot proposals and millage issues. U.S. District Judge John Corbett O'Mara ruled that the bill, the last one passed at the end of the year without any public hearings or debate, is unconstitutionally vague. So I just wanted that it was clear that it was.
Well, it hasn't been adjudicated, though.
But according to the county attorney Curtis Hedger, it's like the bill has not been passed.
Well, get ready.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? I'll make a motion to adjourn. Thank you, everyone. See you in 2 weeks.